Hello, class. Ever wondered why you see three gas stations all clustered on the same corner? Or why all the furniture stores seem to huddle together in one part of town? It might look a little weird, but believe me, there are some powerful economic theories that explain these patterns. And today, we're going to unpack them. I mean, it seems totally counterintuitive, doesn't it? You'd think they'd want to spread out to capture their own turf. But there's a fascinating, powerful logic at play here. A logic that economists have been thinking about and refining for more than a century. So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to take a trip through time, looking at four foundational theories that really build on one another. We'll start with costs, then add in competition, look at how things change over time, and finally, bring it all together with profit. Okay, let's dive in. Our story starts way back in 1909 with a German economist named Alfred Weber. He came up with a very simple but incredibly powerful idea. Businesses will always try to locate where their costs are the absolute lowest. Essentially, Weber's goal was to find that one perfect spot, that single point on the map where the total bill for shipping raw materials in and finished goods out was as cheap as humanly possible. It's all about minimizing those transport and labor costs. Now, to build this pure theory, Weber had to simplify the world a lot. He basically created a laboratory setting. He imagined a perfectly flat landscape, perfect competition, and entrepreneurs who were completely rational and cared only about one thing: minimizing cost. It's not the real world, of course, but it's a fantastic starting point for understanding the basic forces at work. And this little diagram, his location triangle, just nails the concept. The factory's perfect spot is basically the result of a tug of war. It's being pulled by the sources of its raw materials and by the market where it sells its stuff. It's a balancing act. All right, let's jump forward 2 decades to 1929. Another economist, Harold Hodaling, comes along and asks a brilliant question. What happens if your costs are basically the same as your rivals? What's the deciding factor then? And here's his answer. It's all about your competitors. Suddenly, your location isn't just an accounting problem about your own costs. No, it's a strategic move on a competitive chessboard. Where you put your business depends entirely on where your rival puts theirs. The classic example that makes this crystal clear involves 2 ice cream vendors on a beach. To guarantee they get the most customers and to stop their rival from getting an edge, where do they end up? Right next to each other, smack dab in the middle of the beach. And this is where it gets so fascinating, right? This creates a real tension because what's best for the competing businesses clustering together is actually the worst case scenario for the customers who now have to walk farther to get their ice cream. Of course, this clustering effect isn't some unbreakable law of physics. Companies can escape this pull if they're smart. If your product is truly different, if you have die-hard brand loyalty, or if you cater to a specific niche, you can break the mold. Okay, so far we've been looking at location as a single decision. But let's fast forward to 1966. A man named Raymond Venon comes along and decides to zoom the camera out. He's not just interested in a single point in time. He wants to know how a product's location changes over its entire life, across the entire globe. What Venon suggested is that there's this predictable pattern. A product's home for manufacturing actually moves from country to country as that product goes from being brand new to mature to old news. You can think of it as a journey in 3 stages. First, it's invented and produced at home, in an innovative country. Then, as it gets popular, production expands to other advanced nations. And finally, once it's a standard commodity, production moves to low-cost countries to squeeze out every last bit of profit. The Xerox photocopier is the textbook example of this. It started out as an American invention, made in the US, then production moved to places like Japan and Europe, and eventually the US was actually importing photocopiers from developing nations in Asia, a perfect illustration. Now, as brilliant as this theory was, it's showing its age a bit. For one, it's pretty US-centric, and second, in today's hyper-globalized world, a lot of new products are designed, built, and launched all over the planet simultaneously from day one. So, that brings us to 1971 and D.M. Smith. Smith looked at all these ideas, Weber's costs, Hoteling's competition, and he brought them together. He argued that at the end of the day, the ultimate goal isn't just about minimizing cost. It's about maximizing profit. Smith's killer insight is that for any business, there's a geographic zone of profitability. If you operate outside that zone, you'll lose money.
The real challenge then is to find the absolute best, most profitable spot within that zone.
So he breaks it down. Case 1. Imagine you can sell your product for the same price everywhere. Well, then your decision is easy. You go right back to Weber's theory and find the location with the absolute lowest costs. Simple as that. Okay, case 2. Now let's flip it. What if your production costs are the same no matter where you are? Then the game changes. It's all about finding the spot where you can generate the highest possible revenue, where you have the best market access. But of course, case 3 is reality. In the real world, both your costs and your revenues change depending on where you are. So the ultimate goal, the holy grail, is to find that sweet spot on the map where the gap between your income and your expenses is the absolute widest. That's your location. So after this whole journey from 1909 all the way up to today, what have we really learned? What does this all tell us about why our economic world is mapped out the way it is? Well, we've built a pretty powerful toolkit. Weber gave us the bedrock principle, costs matter. Hotelling showed us the powerful magnetic pull of competition. Venon reminded us that location isn't static, it's a journey. And finally, Smith tied it all together with the ultimate driver, the relentless pursuit of profit. And that really is the big question for the 21st century, isn't it? In a world of digital everything, does any of this even matter? The answer is a resounding yes. Look, the playing field has changed, but the rules of the game are the same. The fundamental forces of cost, competition, and profit that we've talked about are still shaping our world, from where Amazon builds its warehouses to where data centers get located. The next chapter is being written as we speak, and now you have the tools to understand it. Thank you.